Hi, welcome to Myers ASMR. It's so good to see you. How are you? Hey, you don't have to figure it all out right now. You'll be guided every step along the way. Yeah, you don't have to figure it all out right now. You'll be guided every step along the way. Hey, look what I got today. This is some leftover Thai food from last night. We went to this place called Charm in Montclair, New Jersey. A friend of ours was singing. They have live music there on Saturdays. And I got crispy chicken pad thai. And anyway, it was a nice portion. And I got some leftovers. So let's see how it tastes the next day. It's not crispy, but it's still good. You like my new hair? It's called Passion Twist Boho Style. And I needed 3 packs of these to really fill in my cornrows because they're just looped into 10 cornrows. And each pack was $12. So I'm eager to see how they hold up and last, because if I unhook them and will I be able to use them again? So I'm going to leave them in for 4 weeks and see how they do, because I'm the type to reuse my extensions over and over. Oh, this length is the 10-inch, which is great. The 10-inch is the only length that they had in this particular style. When I looked on the back, I see that they also come in 12, 14, 16, and maybe 18. used to having like a 16-inch extensions, but I'm finding in the winter time putting on my coats and taking them off and my scarves, all of that, it's like, gets in the way. So I love that I can put on things very easily without having to constantly, do one of these numbers and readjust, keep adjusting for all the long extensions. So for right now, this length is perfect, but I know me, I love some long hair. This is Trader Joe's maple espresso tea. Can you believe it? And I reused a Taylor's Christmas spice blend black tea bag because the Trader Joe's maple espresso to me is not quite strong enough. Just put a little lactose-free milk and some raw honey. It tastes amazing. Sometimes I answer questions that have not been asked, just in case I find them in the comments. I like to answer some things so people can get their answers straight away instead, without needing to post the question in the comments, hoping that I'll get back to it. So from time to time, people may ask me a few things. Like one time someone asked me where I got these earrings. These are from Ross Simon's online. These are sterling silver. When I was shopping a couple of years ago for some fine jewelry, I always went to the Ross Simon clearance section and found some very, very, very affordable pieces. Just some things, that I could wear. Since I didn't have too much fine, like real metal, like gold and silver, so I wanted that since the, I don't know what you call it, like the steel or whatever I was allergic to. I found that it was, not doing well with my skin. Anyways, so I just went to Ross Simon and just bought up a bunch of clearance things. And so glad I did. This top is, I guess they call it vintage now. I call it thrift. It's J. Crew denim. And it's probably from the 90s, just judging by the style of it. Oh, let's get into the next fun part. Let's pick up with The Great Gatsby. I don't know what's up with this book, but every time I turn a page, it falls apart. So, and it's a new book. It's not like it's old. Let's see where we left off. Gatsby looked at me questioningly. He wanted to go, and he didn't see that Mr. Sloane had determined he shouldn't. "I'm afraid I won't be able to," he said. "Well, you come," she urged, concentrating on Gatsby. Mr. Sloane murmured something close to her ear. "We won't be late if we start now," she insisted aloud. "I haven't got a horse," said Gatsby. "I used to ride in the army, but I've never bought a horse. I'll have to follow you in my car. Excuse me for just a minute." The rest of us walked out on the porch where Sloane and the lady began an impassioned conversation aside. "My God, I believe the man's coming," said Tom. "Doesn't he know she doesn't want him?" "She says she does want him. She has a big dinner party, and he won't know a soul there." He frowned. "I wonder where in the devil he met Daisy. By God, I may be old-fashioned in my ideas, but women run around too much these days to suit me. They meet all kinds of crazy fish." Suddenly, Mr. Sloane and the lady walked down the steps and mounted their horses. "Come on," said Mr. Sloane to Tom. "We're late, we've got to go." And then to me, "Tell him we couldn't wait, will you?" Tom and I shook hands. The rest of us exchanged a cool nod, and they trotted quickly down the drive, disappearing under the August foliage just as Gatsby, with hat and light overcoat in hand, came out the front door. Tom was evidently perturbed at Daisy's running around alone, for on the following Saturday night he came with her to Gatsby's party. Perhaps his presence gave the evening its peculiar quality of oppressiveness. It stands out in my memory from Gatsby's other parties that summer. There were the same people, or at least the same sort of people, the same profusion of champagne, the same many-colored, many-keyed commotion, but I felt an unpleasantness in the air, a pervading harshness that hadn't been there before. Or perhaps I had merely grown used to it, grown to accept West Egg as a world complete in itself, with its own standards and its own great figures second to nothing because it had no consciousness of being so, and now I was looking at it again through Daisy's eyes. It is invariably saddening to look through new eyes at things upon which you have expended your own powers of adjustment. They arrived at twilight, and as we strolled out among the sparkling hundreds, Daisy's voice was playing murmurous tricks in her throat. "These things excite me so," she whispered. "If you want to kiss me any time during the evening, Nick, just let me know, and I'll be glad to arrange it for you. Just mention my name or present a green card. I'm giving out green." "Look around," suggested Gatsby. "I'm looking around. I'm having a marvelous. You must see the faces of many people you've heard about." Tom's arrogant eyes roamed the crowd. "We don't go around very much," he said. "In fact, I was just thinking, I don't know a soul here. Perhaps you know that lady." Gatsby indicated a gorgeous, scarcely human orchid of a woman who sat in a state under a white plum tree. Tom and Daisy stared with that peculiar, unreal feeling that accompanies the recognition of a hitherto ghostly celebrity of the movies. "She's lovely," said Daisy. "The man bending over her is her director." He took them ceremoniously from group to group. "Mrs. Buchanan and Mr. Buchanan." After an instant's hesitation, he added, "The polo player." "Oh no," objected Tom quickly, "not me." But evidently the sound of it pleased Gatsby, for Tom remained the polo player for the rest of the evening. "I've never met so many celebrities," Daisy exclaimed. "I like that man. What was his name, with the sort of blue nose?" Gatsby identified him, adding that he was a small producer. "Well, I liked him anyhow." I'd a little rather not be the polo player," said Tom pleasantly. "I'd rather look at all these famous people in oblivion." Daisy and Gatsby danced. I remember being surprised by his graceful conservative foxtrot. I had never seen him dance before. Then they sauntered over to my house and sat on the steps for half an hour, while at her request I remained watchfully in the garden. "In case there's a fire or a flood," she explained, "or any act of God." Tom appeared from his oblivion as we were sitting down to supper together. "Do you mind if I eat with some people over here?" he said. "A fellow's getting off some funny stuff." "Go ahead," answered Daisy genially. "And if you want to take down any addresses, here's my little gold pencil." She looked around after a moment and told me the girl was common but pretty, and I knew that except for the half hour she'd been alone with Gatsby, she wasn't having a good time. We were at a particularly tipsy table. That was my fault. Gatsby had been called to the phone, and I'd enjoyed these same people only 2 weeks before. But what had amused me then turned septic on the air now. "How do you feel, Miss Baedeker?" The girl addressed was trying unsuccessfully to slump against my shoulder. At this inquiry, she sat up and opened her eyes. "What?" A massive and lethargic woman who had been urging Daisy to play golf with her at the local club tomorrow again, spoke in Miss Bedacker's defense. Oh, she's all right now. When she's had 5 or 6 cocktails, she always starts screaming like that. I tell her she ought to leave it alone. I do leave it alone, affirmed the accused hollowly. We heard you yelling, so I said to Doc Civet here, there's something that needs your help, Doc. She's much obliged, I'm sure, said another friend without gratitude. But you got her dress all wet when you stuck her head in the pool. Anything I hate is to get my head stuck in a pool, mumbled Miss Baedeker. They almost drowned me once in New Jersey. Then you ought to leave it alone, and countered Dr. Civet. Speak for yourself, cried Miss Baedeker violently. Your hand shakes. I wouldn't let you operate on me. It was like that. Almost the last thing I remember was standing with Daisy and watching the moving picture director and his star. They were still under the white plum tree, and their faces were touching except for a pale thin ray of moonlight between. It occurred to me that he had been very slowly bending toward her all evening to attain this proximity, and even while I watched, I saw him stoop one ultimate degree and kiss at her cheek. I like her, said Daisy. I think she's lovely. But the rest defended her inarguably because it wasn't a gesture but an emotion. She was appalled by West Egg, this unprecedented place that Broadway had begotten upon a Long Island fishing village, appalled by its raw vigor that chafed under the old euphemisms and by the too obtrusive fate that herded its inhabitants along a shortcut from nothing to nothing. She saw something awful in the very simplicity she failed to understand. Wow. Now, aren't those just some heavy sentences right there? I mean, you have to pause and reflect upon what you read to understand it. Like, what's going on here? People saying some strange things, acting strangely. There's a movie, I think a couple of movies were made about this book. I like to read a book first and then see how the movie did with it. How did the movie interpret it? Bring it to life. It's always interesting, isn't it? And you know they can't put everything in the movie that's in the book, so it's always interesting to see what they consider to be the important parts. Anyways, I feel my nose getting congested. Remember that you don't have to figure it all out right now. You'll be guided every step along the way. Yeah, you don't have to figure it all out right now. You'll be guided every step along the way. Hey, if you like what I'm doing here, like and subscribe, donate to the cause. Catch me in the next video, and may you find lasting happiness.